Well, I think we're live again. Friday night, Battle Pirates, all good. Got the crew together. See what we're gonna do here. I was on the.
On the preview?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was just muting something. I was on the preview today. Was anybody else?
Nope.
No, I couldn't. I didn't realize that USA is doing the change of time this weekend instead of last weekend, so I was 1 hour late.
Okay, and I'm going to post the link for anybody that'd like to join us. And yeah, these screenshots came from the preview server. It's a new Defender hull called Valiant. It's a multitasker as far as what we've seen recently. The fact that it's got deflection against everything. It's got reload bonus or range bonuses for everything except for one thing, which confuses me.
Mortars?
Considering it corrosive, yeah, the weapon they paired it with, which is highly confusing to me. And the other thing I noticed about it is we're getting some new weapon ranges that we haven't seen before by pairing the appropriate special with the new weapon type, or these are actually mostly damage type. It annoys me when they mix weapon type and damage type in these categories, because missile is penetrating and I don't know, whatever, and rocket's also explosive. You know, it's mortar's not in here either. Mortar and corrosive are not in here. So you can now get a spotter potentially with blades or scorias out to 106.4, which is pretty much, as far as I know, the longest player range in the game as far as a ship goes.
Yep.
And
50,000 armor points and no explosive defense, huh? And a defense
It
handicap.
has the deflection.
It has explosive
deflection.
protection.
And in the preview, I could saw TSM from the other show, and he was doing pretty well because the Vendettas were launching over him, and he could kill the full fleet before those even get 20% of damage on it. And
we're joined by
hi,
Mr. Dead Sinner.
What up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Good, you?
Well, I'm happy you're here.
Couldn't miss that discussion. I like this whole.
Yeah, I like the fact that it sort of brings back a little bit of creativity that's been sort of lacking for a while, as far as this doesn't feel like you're force-fed to build it one way or another. You know, basically build it one of two ways or one way only. This one allows you to build in several ways, which I find to be interesting.
yeah, I think it returns the prepping to the base to hitting bases, because you're not going to be able, maybe with most of the fleets, to just hit the back of the base and do everything. So quite interesting to see it back.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this one? I mean, we can move on, or
I'm just looking at the special the abilities for the ranges and stuff, and I mean, I'm thinking this is supposed to help offset the Halak Revenge. So depending on how you build this, it could help or it could not. I mean,
Well,
is
what we
this going
saw
to stack like the fire support special?
But isn't fire support for turrets only?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm
that is-
saying,
yeah.
I'm just using it as a comparison because there's sort of similar numbers. Like if you had a ship that was in the range of two of these, are you going to get? Are these numbers going to stack, or are you? Is it only going to count one time?
No, they
You know.
stack.
They just start back,
Okay.
probably multiplicative, not instead of additive. So you got 50%, and from the next one, you're going to get 100 less what you already have, and that's 50%.
That's still going to be very interesting.
Yeah, one question, Ren, did you get any answer yet to that big question we all got? If this was going to trigger or not the battery?
No, I haven't heard anything official. The graphic in game, like I was watching my video later, and then I saw that you kind of do get the little icon next to the ship showing that it's being buffed. I have the impression it works, but the attribute wasn't visible in the stats, so it should be saying yes or no, but should be visible, right?
Yeah.
But I have the impression it does, and
That'll
what
be
that
more
means is
interesting.
like on my base layout, this guy would be covered by 4 fields. So battery become or the capacitor becomes very interesting.
Yeah, on top of the special abilities, and if they stack, I mean, if you have like a Halak Citadel sitting in between two of these things, running a cap, I mean, that's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
The one downside I see to it is it doesn't look like it has a thermal range.
No, it has no range at all.
Yeah, no thermal. So you gotta pair it up with vanquishers, gammas, retributions, and the likes.
I mean, it's an interesting way of making it so vanquishers aren't obsolete, but I still think I'd much prefer this with like 70 thermal or something, or 50 thermal.
Now, don't know if you guys watched the video, like Stu and I and TSM were testing, right? The one hull that killed this guy the fastest, and I was surprised how fast it actually killed, was the Spite with Scoria missiles.
Well, that's because of the amount of damage they do. It's going to overcome the deflection.
Yeah, I know. I just thought, in my opinion, if this guy's supposed to be a multi-use kind of thing, it killed just a little bit too fast. So I'm thinking maybe that penetrative deflection there should be a little bit higher before the release. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah,
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it was nasty and ugly to see how fast it was dying to that one and how he was lasting. But maybe it was made on purpose, so it's not a fleet that can stop every single fleet. The problem is going maybe to be to get that fleet of spies to hit it, because normally they are quite weak to the executioner. So maybe if your base is well based and this is not on the front, it's going to be hard to get to it.
Yeah, true. If you have executioners and you have a Rhino or a Protodon at the back chucking missiles, you're right, the Spite won't make it.
And also, if you look at that little table on the bottom right, you get the range of, well, let me hide it, 106.4, yeah. Blades and the Scoria to use this as the first encounter that the Spite might have. So maybe that sort of balances, and that's why they gave it. It's just the first ship with a plus missile range, correct?
Yeah. Never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I wouldn't take the scatter guns from this, because it was nasty to see how this one of these solos was killing 5 Furies without getting on a scratch.
Yeah, I was so frustrated with how fast one of these killed like a whole fleet of Furies, because it's the same story with every Blitzer fleet, right? They're good for 2 months, and all of a sudden they're totally nerfed by something.
Yeah, but honestly, that was the only thing in the preview you were making that I was to disagree, because if as we were talking, you will have to work so you can get that Scoria or missile or blade missile to kill it, and that's going to be your war. Then you can do it again. And normally, it's what happens with the Blitz fleets. First, they can flatten every single base just getting in, and then you have to work on a prep so you can use the fleets. And that's when I like them the most.
Maybe a mix of 2 Spites and 3 Furies could work.
The other thing I'm wondering about is the fact that I have a hard time differentiating sometimes, especially when you have a mix of weapons. And this is a unit, a multitasker, that this could have anything on it. The idea that potentially it would be easier to see what the weapon types are, because sometimes they're very difficult to discern unless I'm not playing on a 50-inch screen, so I don't know, but sometimes it's difficult to discern, especially when they get mixed up. They're mixed on the ship, and it seems like this would be one of those hulls that you might want to, mix in the scatter guns, mix in this and that and the other thing in order to fool your opponent and not let him play rock, paper, scissors with you by mixing things up and confusing him on what's actually on this hull.
Yeah,
But
totally
well,
agree.
you can always get into the base peak, make a screenshot, and go to your Windows viewer, zoom it, and you see all that is on it. But
that's not fun gameplay, I don't
Yeah,
think.
but I mean, it's not only go and zoom and watch. It's like having a good mix makes it so versatile, because look at the Vanquisher, right? It's a one-trick pony. So you go in there, 95% of times it's going to be launchers. This guy could be like I did mine. I put 4 scatter guns, 4 Garwood guns, 1 lockdown, and 1 cryonic depth charge. And I was just fooling around with it, right? And it kind of worked. And you could do that. I mean, you could have 4, 6 missiles, and the rest be scatter guns. You can mix whatever you want.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Brian.
Acting
What's up, Brian? Why'd you sneak in?
moderately unpleasant people were holding me up, so I couldn't be here for the start.
Hey, Brian.
But it looks like, so when you think about the whole of like a base design, there's the center island turrets that have a long range, and to get to them you have to rush down a channel through some shorter range turrets potentially that deal a lot of damage. So it's either, well, I have to stop and pick off these turrets and take fire from the middle, or I rush in and take the heavy damage from the shorter range weapons. Like, this hull is a microcosm of that. I'm thinking about putting like 6 X missiles and the other 4 potentially being the new gun, so that, oh, I'm going to get picked out by missiles unless I run in, and then that's a lot of damage. So this hull is really, really good right now. It looks so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just like the ability to adapt it to your needs that's been missing, and I think it's a must-have hull from that perspective. That I think it's going to have a very long shelf life, just because of how flexible it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you my only frustration was when I tried, and I didn't remember immediately, but I tried to put that, I think it's the war plating, the one that's anti-splash damage, and that's the one I wanted to put on this hull, right? And then I remembered that BS, that it's only for Conqueror hulls. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, when that came out, I'm not sure if you saw that show. That was my big argument. Not that it was limited to the Conqueror hulls, but the fact that, Conqueror hulls and Defender hulls, they go against each other. So they should be formed into a single class as far as any sort of class restrictions go.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, because that plate would make perfect sense in this hull. And right now you're kind of like limited to either you put evade, or you put shockwave, or one of the armors without any attributes, pretty much.
Yeah, in the preview, I think I was running a 75% evade on this hull, so it's not hard to get it to a decent evade number.
Yeah. Mine was at 70 something to 70 something.
Yeah, I mean, did you? Was that issue? You were. I saw you were on the preview. Was that issue with the Harlock Revenge exacerbated in some way?
it wasn't
On
fixed
the
yet.
It just wasn't fixed, yeah. They're not
Yes.
taking minimum damage at all.
I don't know if it
Yeah,
was
'cause
Ren or TSM, but one of the two put some Gatling guns, and if you put the two ships at max range and they were hitting just with the concussive damage, you were not doing a single point of damage to that ship, and was crazy to see how you could distract this ship just putting the Revenge outside, the Harlock Revenge, and just one Revenge in front of it.
Yeah, the Valiant and the Revenge facing each other off at max range, it's a timeout. It's a standstill. Nobody wins. Now you put the Revenge in primary range, it kills the Valiant.
Yeah, the moment that you were hitting that with the rockets or the corrosive damage you were having, it was a moment to kill it.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah,
any,
that was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say that for any that doesn't know about the book is that the Harrow Revenge adds some more deflection to the hull, and they reproduced that old book that the Revenge got, that is not taking in care the minimum damage that has to get through.
Yeah. What is the secret though? I saw several players that were able to just knock out the Harlock Revenge, no problem. I mean, I was running the Valiant, 2 Valiants, 2 Retributions, and a Harlock Citadel, and a lot of issues with the actual Harlock itself, not the Revenges that were impacted by it. Like even if they were stacked, I'd kill all the Revenges, and then the Harlock Revenge was taking about 3% damage. And I originally had Cyclones on it on my Vanquishers, and then I switched those over to Antipode. Both are like 6 times supercharged, and they will fire at you simultaneously. And even with the shockwave, it wasn't doing anything. It didn't. But there appears to be a real secret there, though, on how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because I saw Laredo doing it, and he was just like people got to a certain point in his channel, and then they just died with the Harlock Revenges. So, oh well.
Yeah, there's something that kills them, because I know some people are able to kill them real fast, and everyone, I mean, other than those people, everyone else kind of like that has their base destroyed, and the Revenges go out almost unscathed. So I don't know exactly what it is. That seems to be the one thing that kills them right now.
Yeah. I found it a little bit confusing.
Anybody
else?
We're working on the that minimum this week, right?
I suppose.
Yeah.
So hopefully Monday or Tuesday we'll have that fixed. I hope.
Also, as I understand it, the minimum damage for this hole in particular was supposedly really, really low compared to other holes. Is that something that you guys noticed or could notice?
Well, wasn't the minimum damage based on deflection? So the lower the deflection, the lower the minimum damage.
Well, Raykin mentioned last night that it's kind of per hole, and for this hole, it's supposedly a lot lower than the other ones.
Well, the thing is they have floor values, and then they adjust it per hull, I think, is what it is.
Yeah, that's what we said. And I don't know, because the deflection is not that high, but I don't remember now the damage per shell. But for example, it was crazy to see how much resistance they got to explosive, and the numbers that you could see were not showing that she got to be so resilient to that sort of damage.
I mean, to be fair, if it can time out against a Revenge and just sit there and take all that fire, then I guess my question was already answered. I did not pay attention.
Should we move on, or is there anything else in this hall that's of interest?
Well, we've done 20-something, some odd minutes, so yeah, I think it's next.
Okay, let's
All
move
right.
to the weapon then.
Okay, where did this come from? Why is this? I mean, I'm asking as a serious question for Renato, you were on the preview. Why is this paired with this hull? Considering this hull does not have any real buffs for a scattergun. or corrosive damage to be more correct?
I think it's a tactical choice. I mean, and if you look at it, this weapon is misleading if it stays like that, because look at the damage, 2,700, right? But that's not the important piece. The important piece is down there, concussive damage.
4,050.
Yeah. Can
So
you push the button?
it's a 2-in-1, right? I mean, it's a multi-shot. You get that. You put some extra multi-shot special. I mean, you're going to be doing corrosive and concussive at the same time. And when I say tactical, I mean, it's one of those where your base has to do something that makes the attacker keep moving, so they don't stop at max range and they just walk into that. That's how I see that. It's something you got to force them to walk into it. And then it hurts for most holes. I mean, the Retribution is the one that does best against that.
Right.
Can you click on there? It's going to bring up something else.
Oh yeah.
It seems like this is just one of those things where, you know, they started saying that they're going to start building the whole thing around, you know, puzzles types of things, like the targets that we're going to be hitting will be a puzzle to figure out. Defending your base will be a puzzle of mix and match stuff. So it looks like this might actually be like in that same line of reasoning.
Yeah, in the damage, I've combined the corrosive and the concussive. I don't know.
Any
Just so it's a
any
little-
particular reason you didn't add the newer scattergun, the one that came out with the Fury?
Because I probably didn't own it. I should probably put that in.
Okay, yeah, because the two you used are the oldest ones.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
I've never been at. Hey,
Hello.
Hey
Oh.
there.
you know me. I'm not
It's me
big
again.
into the. Hey, it's not. One second. Yeah, you know me. I'm not a big fan of the rockets. You know the short range blitz type stuff. So it was merely oversight on my side. It wasn't was not intentional.
Okay.
Do we know offhand?
But even, I mean, even
what
to
the-
compare, just so you know, the scattergun that's out with the Fury has range of 83, so the new one beats it
Okay.
by a little bit.
Okay. And have you done a similar table?
No.
Okay. I was just curious if, I mean, it's killing everything as far as DPS per ton, even building DPS per ton relative to those older ones. Just because it's, you know, it's way lighter. You know, it's a third of the weight of the heavy unit.
Mhm.
But I guess we can skip this since I didn't put all the factors in here. Unless anybody has anything to say about this.
It's
I was just gonna say I really like the fact it's a kind of like a 2-in-1 weapon, the Calamity, because like the concussive and corrosive. So in the rock paper scissors game of base defense, this helps a lot, right? Because you're doing a lot of damage in two types of damage that beat a lot of the Conqueror hulls.
all
So
in one
does this
shot.
mean we don't need Garwood Gatling gun on the Valiant?
The Garwood
I
has
use the Garwood for its range, right? It's 93 range, and then you get the bonus from the hull. It gets past 100. So it's just there kind of like to hurt them at long distance. This one, you got to force them to walk into it. I mean, you could not use the Garwood. You could use Scoria missiles instead, for all I care. I mean, have the long range option there.
Right. Each one has
I'm
its
kind of
niche.
sorry I barged in a little bit at the while you guys started. I just saw the stream, and how it's kind of a little bit confusing. I mean, at the end of the day, what is it for? I'm not talking about defense. I'm talking about weapons-wise. As you said, it's a rock paper scissors thing. So, what's the best combination to use?
It depends on your base and what else is in
Yeah.
your guard. It's
It's one of
You
those
can't
pieces
say
of the
there's
puzzle.
So that
This is to plug the gaps. That's what you're trying to say?
that
No.
hull is a duck. It can fly, it can swim, it can walk. It probably is not. It doesn't excel at any of them, but can do all three well. So it's one of those. Like I think someone said that earlier. It brings creativity back in the game, at least for that one. You can put whatever you want on that duck.
I'm
Okay, let
saving
me
that.
rephrase my question. What would you? How many would you build, and what would you put on it?
I'd
Are you
build
talking about
one
the
and
weapon or the hull? Because the thing is like Ren was trying to explain, the hull, that the weapon can be put on this hull, and it's part of a combination effect. You can have something out that has a very long range that forces them into the range of this, and then this will hammer them. I mean, it's all about that big puzzle build that you're doing.
personally, my build's going to be one missile with a solid fuel booster 3 to spot, one cryo depth charge, and then a bunch of Garwood Gatling guns. Shockwave plating 4, and then damage boost to the Gatling guns.
Speaking of shockwave plate, I was just watching a stream with the GD Riken. Apparently, there's a bug. The radioactive shockwave is calculated as radioactive damage. So that plate is pretty much until they fix it. But he said you can watch it. He said that because he didn't want an uproar, because suddenly if they do that, most of our defenses will be mute. I mean, if you have radioactive plate, it will be useless. So they're leaving it as it is. But from now on, moving forward, they're going to try and segregate it or separate it. So just a heads up. I mean, because I had Shockwave plate 4 on my Furies, and they did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, see, the reason they're not fixing it is because if they had changed it so shockwave deflection only worked for shockwaves, anybody could just sit there and then hit bases with Cyclone Furies and prep out the guards. So, because there's nothing to defend against the raw damage of the Cyclones except for the shockwave plates.
That's me exactly, and it didn't work out for me that well.
Now, back to your question, I think Brian
Sorry.
made a good comment here on the text box, just saying the way you should build this hull, the Valiant, is to plug whatever gap you have in your base. If today missiles are breaking your base, it's the Spite, so build it to beat a Spite. If today is the Fury, build it to beat the Fury. Build it to plug whatever weakness your base has. And I think that's why this one is so interesting. Other than it's not a sub spotter, it's a sub killer, but it won't see the sub. But weapon wise, just build for whatever you need, you're lacking today.
So it's like the old man just firing at squirrels blindly, and never mind. I just know what you're saying.
Guys, I'm sorry to keep nagging about this, but that's what I hate. When you mix and match, they're saying you can't be everything for everybody. Like we have an example. We have a problem with spites right now. Okay, just a little while ago, my base got hit with a spite. They took out the retribution very easily, and so forth. So, would 5 blades and 5 scatter guns? It's got 10 weapon slots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would that be? I mean, the way I see it, if you put 5 blades and 5 scatter guns, it would be neither good for Furies or spites. That's
so
what
I
I'm
don't
afraid
think
of.
you should say it has to be everything to everyone. I think the right way of saying that is it can be what each person needs. So you don't need to mix. But again, if you make it a missile ship, it's going to work. If you make it a scattergun ship, it's going to work. If you make it a concussive ship, it's going to work. What do you need? And make the one thing you need.
And the other thing is you have more than one ship in your defense hull. It's supposed to be a combination. So if you're going to use this up front, you can have this to trigger a whole bunch of other stuff behind it too. It's very versatile. That's the point of the hull.
Yeah, and don't forget, it has a very nice field that gives reload and damage to other hulls nearby. So I would never put that guy as the first hull to be killed in my base. It would probably be the second or third, because I want it buffing the other guys.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. We still don't know if it's resonance trigger or not, right?
We don't.
No, we don't have an answer yet, or at least official one.
Brian or anybody, have you run the DPS numbers on the Calamity versus the conflagration?
Let me. Excel, do my bidding.
Yes. No, I was just curious if, like these fleet DPS numbers and things like that,
I put all the base numbers
You know.
in the side chat, so I'll probably take a couple of minutes and then get
Well,
back to you.
well, I put some of them in, but the formulas I have are based on splash and spread, and that's not in there. And I haven't. I was just curious if you.
Isn't the spread for this gun like super wide by comparison? Oh no, it's not. No, it's actually
No,
normal.
it's tighter. It's tighter.
I was used to I've been looking at concussive Gatlings and the like for the past few days, and so I'm used to a spread of 10 when I look at that number. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's using that 3/8 formula. It's it basically has twice the accuracy of at least the older scatterguns that I presented. I mean, I could be quiet for a while, and which probably a lot of people would like, and try and work it out, and we can come back to it. Or just wasn't sure if you were halfway there.
I'm actually about halfway there. I'm working on it as we speak.
Okay. All good.
See,
Well,
that's
why don't we go back to
him.
why don't we go to the
We go to
Why
the
don't we-
next one while Brian is doing the numbers, and
Yeah.
then we come back to this one.
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, the special.
I love that comment on the corner there, Cobra Tiger Sharks. That's a great idea.
I saw that as the most because I don't know that the special or the weapon is specifically tuned towards the hull, and I thought that was the first thing that popped in my mind. Is you include corrosive and splash, and you can still put in the barrel systems to increase the multi-shot. This might be the best fit I could see, but it seems odd that they would put that in here at this point, because I'm assuming a lot of the developers probably don't like the Cobra Tiger Sharks, from what I can tell. I know they don't like the Cruise, and they don't like the Ghost Crawler. So, I thought the Cobra Tiger Sharks would be next on their list of things that they don't really like.
Yeah, you know what I liked is I was able to combine in the Valiant on my build. I was able to combine this special with the advanced concussive payload from Price Pack 3 of High Tide, and that one buffs concussive damage by a lot and gives right. So when you look at the scattergun, and tell me if I'm wrong, I assume it also buffs secondary damage, right? If it's concussive.
It should.
It should.
Yeah, it should. You mean secondary, not DOT, but yeah.
Yeah,
It should,
secondary. Because what I'm thinking is the
Yeah.
new scattergun has like 4,000 concussive damage. If you get that buff by like 50% from the ACP, and you get the primary corrosive damage by buff by 25, then you add multi-shot, so it's 3 specials I'm talking about. You can get all 3 in there. There's no conflict, right? You can get a
Did you try to
generator,
also-
you can get this one, and you can get the advanced concussive payload. That made
Did you try to-
like a monster.
Generator is
Brian,
so
did you
good
try
with
to
this.
put this one with the one that came with the Fury? I can't remember now the name.
With the conflagration, no, I haven't. I'm still working on the actual numbers.
I doubt that they stack. I mean, that would be way too much overpowered.
No, the one that comes
Yeah,
with the Fury
no.
cannot stack with this one. I tried.
Yeah.
They both buff corrosive damage.
Yeah.
That would be too much.
And you cannot stack any other major special that buffs splash either. So if you put any rockets or depth charges or whatever has splash, if you put this guy on, then you can only use
Splash upgrade.
splash upgrade. Now, here's
Yeah,
a
right.
twist on that, right? Don't use that special, this one here. Use the one that came with the Fury, the hydroxide injectors, because that one doesn't give you splash, but gives you multi-shot and corrosive buff. Then you can use the ACP for concussive buff and concussive reload. And then you can use something like Combustion System 2, right? And then get a like 74% splash buff and projectile speed and whatnot. How about that?
Yeah. I like
Yeah, definitely. emission generator is so good with this gun. And yeah, when I looked at that gun and saw it spread, the first thing I thought of was, well, I'm not using this. I can use emission generator. It's good DPS, and then explosive system. Because whatever, I've almost got the numbers.
Yeah, emission's good because it builds fast and it's lighter.
What the?
Brian's breaking it all already. I can
The
already see it in his
Excel
face.
sheet wants to hide from me. It doesn't want.
Mhm.
It's glitching to the bottom of the page. It doesn't want it.
He's thinking. I can see the smoke behind his hair.
Is that smoke or sparkles? Because he already said something about sparkly vampires or something about his closet. So
But well, let's see. In general, we see this as an interesting hole to get, not likely Sunrays that we see a hole and a weapon and a special. Okay, I will do this because I want to get all the blueprints, but I'm not sure if I'm going to build this. This is one at least that we can agree all that we are going to build this one.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would recommend, because everybody, it's 15.96, and if you can get the 15, get the hull, and don't worry as much if you don't have the capacity to get the 9 and the 6, the weapon and the special, because of the flexibility associated with the hull. I think the hull is a must-get. The special and the weapon are nice, but I think the hull is going to have a longer shelf life and something that we're still going to see used 8 months from now, as opposed to the rest of it.
I think I'm going to go with something that Chris is probably expecting now. Given what's coming out in the next raid, I'm going to be telling people, go find a merc. Jump to someone that can merc for you, because you're going to need to get this hull. This hull is actually a pretty damn must-have hull from the looks that I've seen. But we also have another hull coming out next month, or this next week in the raid. That's going to do some really funky stuff on the map. And then we have the weapon and the special. So between the Holox Tide Seeker, this hull, and the weapon and special, there's going to be a lot of points needed this time.
We're not sure that he wasn't drugged and just made that stuff up about the Phantoms, right?
No, that's it's been in the pipeline for a while.
Yeah, and I guess that maybe the fact that now you can have a Kuda fleet, a Spectre fleet, an Nighthawk fleet, a Tiger Shark fleet, if you don't have a second or the spare one of each of those, and a Ghost Crawler. We are always talking that having that many ships on the map create lag, and that's the reason that many people were killing those amounts of fleets around the base when somebody got some sort of burial or something awry. So it was normal that this was coming, because they are going to have some way to kill the lag. If you can kill all those fleets that are just idle on the map for nothing.
I don't know that it has a lot to do with the lag. I think that, part of it was, ever since subs came out, it was an issue, because, subs could dictate a fight. But you could see them because you always had to have a gunboat or something, except for schmucks like me that would put a Seawolf to fake, people into hitting a subfleet. But when the Phantoms came out, you literally could absolutely positively dictate the battle. And I don't think that helped the map fleet versus fleet, player versus player thing at all. I think that was probably the biggest detriment to that aspect of the game ever in the game, was the Phantoms coming out. Because
I
now
totally agree with George. I mean, 100%. I think this was the one thing in this whole game that never had a counter. Yeah. It's like nobody was able to legitimately engage Phantom fleet on the map, and that was the one thing without a counter, and I really didn't like it. Never liked it, because there's no way you can counter that. Now there is. I mean, people are saying it's the end of the world. It's not.
Yeah.
Not every player will have the flagship selected on map all the time to see everyone else. So there's still a niche for them. It's just now they're not a dominant force that there's no way to counter. I think it's totally fair.
And you can't.
And it's important that we can
pick off people, because I mean that's the biggest thing with the Phantom fleets, was that you would be able to dictate what battle you wanted, and that was it. Which is it's clearly a one-sided battle. Whereas before, I mean, even when we used to bring fleets into different sectors and we'd run around and go crazy, you would always be able to hurt the other fleet, even if they came in with, you know, Seawolves and you had like one of your basers back then at the time. Everyone was going to take a little bit of damage. You know, the Phantoms eliminated all of that completely. It literally put the choice in the hands of the Phantom owner, which, you know, was cool because I liked going and sniping people every once in a while. I'll admit it. But it, you know, if you're going to be honest, it really is a lopsided battle, absolutely 100%.
Yeah, we have to remember what Ren said. That is important. You have to have selected the fleet that holds that Harlock Hide Seeker
Right.
Tide Seeker, sorry, in order to see. It's not that you are seeing them all the time.
Yeah, and
So-
there's a counter, right? Here's the other thing. I mean, if the Tide Seeker flagship's on the map, everyone can see it, so you know it's there. Now,
Exactly.
it's easy to kill it. I mean, people are saying, like, thinking the Tide Seeker is like the best hull ever, but it only has 2 types of resistance out of the box. So someone with a missile fleet, a spy to Scoria fleet, should be able to go in there and just kill it. You kill it, you know.
That depends on how you are building that fleet either, because we were seeing with Georgia a tank for the Forsaken mission, and I think it could go at something like 90 resistance, just changing one of the armor specials.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, out of the box, it comes with only 2 resistances. So it shouldn't be rocket science to find a hole to kill them. I mean, missiles or scatterguns by default should just kill it fast. So it's not like everyone with a Tide Seeker will be just striding around the map untouchable like people with Phantoms were. You can go and kill it. So I think it kind of brings probably, I'm hoping, brings FEF back in the game, you know, I think.
Even with subs, guys, I mean, honestly, I don't really like this Tide Seeker. I built mine specially for sub hunting, and it's slow, and the range sucks, and the repair time is obscene. I don't know. I just don't like this this hull. I might be wrong. I'm just putting this out there. If anybody has another opinion, I don't know.
Did you go with torps, or you go with the concussive weapon, or did you go with missiles?
I put 4 torps, 4 cryo depth chargers, and 4 Garwood Gatling guns. And I even put corrosive armor for the scatter guns.
Okay, next time try to build it with missiles, and you tell me how fast you kill the subs. Because get in mind that probably you were fighting the Hellwraith, and you were fighting them with weapons, with the armor resistance it has inbuilt. But if you fight them with missiles, you are killing them in a moment.
Wow, very interesting point. I missed that. I'll definitely do that. I will definitely do that. I'll try Buzzard even. I think Buzzard would be great. There. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Last thing before we move on, speed-wise, because at the end of the day, the Hellwaiters are far too fast for the Tide Seeker. I mean, because they just run circles around it. And because of the range difference, it's 85 and 88. If somebody knows what he's doing, they usually kill them fairly easily. Do you have a fix for that?
I mean, to a certain extent, you do kind of have to hope that they suck. But a retribution is the old school way of stopping fleets like that. For years now, it is going to be really hard, because if they are skilled enough and can pull away just in time, then they would probably be able to shut you down. I guess just try to guess which direction they're coming from and how they'll turn, and then move in a manner such that, like, they think they're turning in the right way, but they're not, and your 85 will beat out their 88 before they can turn away, and then you'd be able to snipe at them with hopefully missiles.
Yeah, with the Hellwraiths surfacing every minute, less than a minute, you know, I think you can corner them, right? If you don't die too fast, and I don't think you do, because you have like 95% concussive resistance. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying it's going to be a damage-free win for anybody, but even if the hell rates attack you, they will take damage. They won't be able to kill you before they surface if you have like 3-4 ships. And I'm just estimating that, okay? I didn't do that battle to be certain of what I'm saying here. It's an educated guess.
No problem.
Okay, I think
Can we
that
go
we
back
saw-
one slide?
Yeah, I was going to say that Brian put some numbers, so let's go back to that slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The Brian put some numbers out. The fleet TPS, as opposed to 600 for the Calamity, is 263 for the conflagration. And then the DPS per ton is 73.4. So it beats out the heavy scatter gun and the scatter D81.
Sorry, excuse me. I
Okay,
don't
go
know
ahead.
if you guys are looking at something, but I don't see the conflagration on the table that you're sharing.
No. Brian put something on the right-hand side, and I'm as opposed to updating the table in real time.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm just speaking out loud
Okay.
as far as what the numbers are, just because I had a little bit of oversight and forgot about the about that weapon, and the DPS for buildings is 526, which is higher than the heavy or lower than the heavy scatter gun, but higher than both the other ones, and DPS per 100 tons is the highest for the conflagration. So I just wanted to put that out there as far as the conflagration is probably the best one for going after turrets
Buildings?
and whatnot. Yeah, buildings. But otherwise, the Calamity appears to be the best one as far as any sort of fleet versus fleet.
Yeah, the other factor that you have to account for that kind of muddles the math here is the multi-shot. For instance, you get the heavy scattergun and the Calamity. They do nearly the same damage, right? 6,600, 6,700.
Mhm.
But one of them is divided by 15 shots and the other one just by 3. So when you add a special that adds multi-shot, you get the added damage per multi-shot to the total weapon damage, right?
Yeah, so as
Yes.
opposed to adding 2 to the Calamity, which is going to make a huge difference versus the 15.
Yeah,
I mean-
exactly. So for instance, doing just a quick math, 6,700 by 3, that's approximately 2,300 per
Mhm.
shot. You add 2, you're adding
10,000.
4,600. So you bring the damage to like 10,000, past 10,000.
Yeah, 11,000, 10, 11. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you go on the heavy scattergun, you have 6,600 divided by 15, so you have about 400 per, right? Even if you add 6 multi-shot because it's a heavy weapon, you're only adding 2,400 to that. So at that point, the Calamity does more raw damage than the heavy after the special.
Yeah, the tricky part, as far as like Brian and Renato and maybe George at times when he's paying attention, as far as doing the math on these things, is the multi-shot and the salvo makes it tricky. It adds a whole level of complexity as far as calculating these numbers as far as how much damage is getting done.
Yeah, that's why I rarely do spreadsheets.
I mean-
It's too much work, too many variables. I did it for the reciprocator versus the Garwood just because I wasn't sure which one to use, but I usually don't.
Yeah, and it really depends on how, I saw your spreadsheet. It really depends, in my mind, on how you're going to use it. Are you going to use it in the raid, or are you going to use it as a sub hunter?
I see your point, because as a
And-
sub hunter, you probably want the Garwood.
Yeah, because the Hellrace are going to be running from you, so that range difference is huge. if you're going against the raid target that are moving at like 5 combat speed, closing that gap is nothing. So yeah, that's where I saw the big difference between the two.
Yeah, and all my math and all my recommended builds, everything is for the raid. It's not to have a sub hunter.
Yeah, but for a lot of players like me, you know, I'm happy to do the raid with the Hellwraith, building the Tideseeker as a sub hunter or a trap fleet or whatever later on, just because, you know. But if you hate subs, you know, you understand what I'm saying, right, Renato?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. And again, I think you got to build for purpose, right? Just like some people found a very good build for FM, it's great. But as long as people understand, if you build it one way, it's going to be good for one thing. If you build it for raid, it's good for raid. If you build it to hunt subs, it's good for that. If you build it for FM tanking, it's good for that. It will never be a multi-use. If you try to make it a multi-use ship, it's just going to suck at everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's happened with a lot of the Punishers. I mean, I got on the after show with GD Rakin last night, and I was talking about the one of the topics was the multi-use of the Punisher, how it was the new superstar, and it reminded me of the old superstar as far as doing everything which was the in my mind was the MCX at one point in time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Or the Crusaders after that.
And
yeah. Well, the Punisher was the you know, that was the what we're comparing everything to. I made the suggestion. I think we're sort of moving on from the slides, so I can probably take Tito off present. I had is if they're expecting us to use a weapon versus a particular type of hull versus a particular type of target, why have they been so lacking for a garrison tank? And the fact that I think the Citadel, based on pretty much all the stats except for 2, is a great garrison tank. I mean, the 2 that it's missing is it has the highest repair efficiency in the game of 1, and it's so freaking slow. Hello?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It went very silent because everybody went on mute. But I think it would be interesting if there was actually a garrison hall. I'm really moving on here from what we're talking about, just because we have an interesting group of people that we haven't really put together in a while to have like other conversations about the FM and hall choices and things of that nature.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of weird decisions that they made, and I know that they made a lot of decisions when they first did the 6 classes based on what type of damage the weapon deals. Notably, the Neptune is an assault hull, and no.
That's a joke, yeah.
Yeah, just like I feel like there's a lot of holes that they either didn't want to or couldn't really classify very well into the existing roles that they had. So instead of making it based on the criteria they had, just other different types. Like they have a niche for siege hulls, and that is ballistic and radioactive deflection and splash damage reduction, as evidenced by the Centurion. That's the one. And technically, the Punisher is a siege hull. It's a little better, but it doesn't have those same characteristics near as well as the Centurion does. So I feel like that could have gone more into like a tank role or like a spotter role like an enforcer could be a spotter, let's say, because it had a range of 103 with the new thing. Just other classifications for hulls and maybe their own foundry lines. Like the heavy cruiser could be a tier 2 quote unquote tank hull, things like that. I think they should have split it more into that.
Or split the way they did, but then adjust the attributes on the ships. Like, okay, if the Neptune's going to be assault, then flip over that deflection from siege to assault. You know what I mean? And you're right. The Citadel, it's so damn slow, right? It's not a good tank. That's one of the reasons. But
It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, that's one of
if
the
anything, I would expect siege hulls to be slower than garrison hulls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can sort of, but we haven't really seen that. But more, my thought is like, if they're trying to, I assume you watched the show about the silos. There's no garrison tank, is there?
Not that I know of. I mean, every tank we recommend, it's in a different class. It's either a Punisher that's siege, or a Drake carrier that's assault, or what is the heavy cruiser?
I think it's siege, but not sure.
I don't.
Let me see.
I don't know either. But
If
these
I
are
can
usually the
get
three
it.
tanks who say, yeah, go for one of these three.
Yeah, but it just seems like a good idea. At least, well, I guess I'm harping on it, but it would be a good idea if there was a garrison tank,
Yeah.
especially since all the garrisons remote targeting, so they require a tank. So it's a little bit. I know the description of the Harlock Citadel acts like it's a tank, but
It's an assault.
Yeah, no way you'd put the Harlock as a tank, because it's the one that has 50% defense handicap. So and gives everyone else the buff. If anything, I would keep that one far behind and use one of the other Citadels as a tank.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. As far as they suggested that in the text description in the blueprint, but it's not. It's not the way you're supposed to
guys,
go.
the heavy cruiser is assault.
Yeah,
It's
that's
assault.
what I said.
Yeah, I just had Huggies open, so I was just sorry for interruption. Go ahead, please.
No worries.
But I've seen two things, two positive things in the last last month. I think the Defender Hall is positive as far as it gives players creativity to work with. And I like the last raid because it gave players the ability to strategically hit a target. And I think both of those things have been missing for a little bit. And I'm glad to see both of them back in the game.
Well, it's back, but it's not back because they have already built this fleet that, as in Wars of Raken, if you are getting the new flagship TIE Seeker, you are even able to do to auto with a significant amount of damage, but auto even the tier 6 or tier
Thank you,
S
Aaron.
target. New flagship. Hello. TIE Seeker. So they are doing at times they are trying to do something good for the community, but at times my feeling is that they are doing one step back and one step forward, and that's my feeling at times. But with the best of the goodwill, no, if not trying to do something wrong, but at times is what my impression, that they do one step back, one step forward. But I can understand that not everybody likes to prove skills. They just find raids boring and they just want them to be done, and they just will put their budget of coins and just do it on auto till it's done. So if they want to work,
Tyro, sorry, I think what makes it hard when you say one step forward, two back, or two forward, one back, however you want to say it, is that what I consider sometimes a step forward, half the community may see as a step back. I mean, look at this whole thing right now with being able to see phantom subs on map. Some people will say, oh, that's finally it's overdue, you know. And some people say, "Oh, you're breaking the game. I hate you," right? And I see that on the pages today. It's people on both sides of the divide, or just like the way the rate is now, right? I mean, a lot of people were happy last month that they could finally do with subs, and if you drive right and you don't lag and this and that, could do no damage. Some people would still say, I don't want to drive subs. Now they give them a surface chip. So I think the fact is there's no single position where 100% of the players will agree with that, other than cutting down repair and cutting down build time. I think everyone agrees on that one, but everything else is a divide.
For that, I said I feel, not we feel, because is my view of the thing itself.
I mean, Renato, you've been playing for a while. I mean, do you think one of the problems is there hasn't been a common vision for a while? Different.
I think in the last year, since January, they now have a common vision. You may like it, you may not. And sometimes they need to put some band-aids, like the Tide Seeker was kind of a band-aid for a lot of people not liking subs. You know, and in the end, you see that band-aid kind of created some excitement in the last week in the game. But there is a plan. I mean, they have a plan of PvE holes lasting like 10 months plus. And you see that working with the Citadel, the Apollo, the Punisher, the Centurion, and whatnot. And there is a plan of the PvP side cycling a lot faster, right? And but at the same time repairing a lot faster, so people get back in base hitting, because that aspect of the game was being lost. So personally,
and building a lot faster as well.
Yeah, building, repairing faster. So like late last year, I had completely stopped hitting bases, right? In the past few months, I'm back in that side of the game, and I'm having fun. That's what I'm trying to say, you know. So I like most of their plan. You know, I don't like the mega hull stuff, but there's some people who love it. So like I said, you may like it or not, but there is a vision and there is a plan, and they're sticking to it.
Do you find there's a divergence associated with the fact that they're going on that direction, trying to encourage people to do that, to, you know, do PvP and hit bases? But do you see wherever they will meet again, as far as it's associated with creativity on builds? And that's what I think this defense hall is good at. But generally, that's what's been sacrificed in this path forward to divide PvE and PvP, is they've taken a lot of the creativity out of the game.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I've been playing this game for a really long time, and it was just commented, you need to run a clinical trial before you do any kind of action in the game now. They're just branched out far too much. They're trying to grow, but I don't know. It's just that the fun factor isn't there anymore. I mean, if we all remember when Grimwrath, for example, came out, oh my God, everybody was so happy, and you know, and we were competing about the builds, and we were attacking bases, and the game was just simple and fun. Now it's I don't know. I mean, it's just that there's way too much to do, way too much calculations. This is supposed to be a game. It's not a job.
I always like the calculations. I always like the calculations. So whatever. I'm not. I agree with you on some of that, but
this guy. Oh.
Yeah, I like the calculation. Sure, I mean, I don't put spreadsheets all the time, but I do like estimating what's going to happen. And I think I'm going to agree on the PvE side that there's a lot less creativity. I mean, pretty much now it's like you want to excel at FM, build citadels in the tank, period. Or any of the lower versions of the Citadel, Zerg, Nova, DNX, whatever. You want to excel at Legion, you build Apollos, period. Or if you don't have Apollos, you build Rhinos. It's very prescriptive, right? Mm-hmm. Which, in a way, was their response to a lot of people building crappy ships and then failing badly and complaining that they never had time to build stuff. So I think at least on the chore side of the house, it's not creative, but it's prescriptive, and I think it's by design. Where I think we still have the creativity, just to finish up, it's stuff like you look at the High Tide Price Pack 3, where people are like struggling. If you just drive your Apollo's business as usual on the last encounter, it destroys you multiple times. And then people got creative. Oh, what if I use an Apollo as a tank and I spot citadels? What if I use rhinos in the back? You know, the creativity is still there, but it's just a lot more boxed in overall. On the PvP side, I disagree. PvP is really cool because PvP, the creativity is not so much in how you build the hulls, although you can get some crazy builds out there. But it's how you mix and match them in a fleet of 5 to break a base. I'm loving that personally.
And I totally agree with Ren. The thing that I'm seeing in the game though is the players that are in my alliance have got a limited amount of money that they're going to spend in the game, and you kind of choose nowadays where you're going to spend your money, whether it's going to be on PvP, whether it's going to be PvE, or whether it's going to hit bases. And unfortunately, with the nature of the game since the beginning, you know, it all started with us guys going out and smash a good time. And there's very few players right now that are not going to, you know, take the money that they spend in the game and put it on the PvE events to get the newest tech. They're not going to take the extra funds and go smash bases with it.
But at the end of the day, you need a PvE that you know that is going to do this raid and is going then to be doing a chore after they make the next cycle of events and then change them, and you are doing a PvP that is so easy to build. And at the moment that you are doing what George always points first to do, that is get a hull that does for you the Forsaken mission, with the amount of tokens you are getting, you don't have to invest the same amount of money you were investing in the past.
Okay,
unless you
so-
are going to be
It
willing.
just depends if you want to concentrate on what you want to concentrate on first, but always do FM first. Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like for PvE PvP, there is some creativity in PvP builds. There's like, yes, the meta, and you're supposed to build your scatter gun. It's with your scatter guns, but people used Missile Furies, and people were using a few different kinds of builds on their Revenge when it first came out, and were having reasonable success. So there's certainly some creativity there. The thing about the prescriptive chore stuff is, yes, it can feel a little boxed in, but the boxes take quicker to check off, and once you've checked off those boxes, you're just fine. Like at the start of the year, from about February on, I think I built Punishers and just finished up a pretty long refit of Punishers to make them better for siege targets, but the original build was for dubs and such. So build and refit of Punishers, and build Citadels and a Harlex Citadel, which is important because that's like 20 days, and built 3 Apollos, Pretty Bear, and built 4 Hell Wraiths, and I think a few other things, and just random refits here and there. Like I was able to do all of that, and because I know I've checked those boxes off, I now have this block of free time where I'm actually starting to build Conqueror Hulls, Revenges, Furies, not Furies, I don't know Furies, Spites, and Defender Hulls. I'm probably going to build one of these new ones and have it ready for VXP. I've got a Gamma working right now. Like it feels like a lot more work, but other people have done the work for you, basically, if you just take the time and use Google and use Huggies and think for a little bit. There's plenty of places to get the builds and then start building them, and you can adjust to your tech level so that you can get your boxes checked and done quickly so that you can get back out into PvP. It might take a while, but once you're set for a long time.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick on Brian here. I mean, Brian, you don't spend money on the game, right? So
Nope.
when before, right, looking back, when was it that a free player was able to be building stuff like a Harlock Citadel or a Gamma in the past? You couldn't, because you always had to build the normal holes to kind of like catch up with things that are ever changing without any sort of predictability. Now you kind of know, hey, FM stays the same until August next year. armadas will change in January to whatever we're doing this raid, and they will stay the same until December, and so on and so forth. So you can plan. You build it now, it's good for a year, 10 months, 11 months, whatever. So you can even do like exclusive limited hauls without spending money now.
Yep.
And I think that helps a lot, goes a long way in retaining a lot of players in the player base, and the game actually needs that. It was bleeding players because it was only made for the top coiners at some point.
I
Yeah,
think they're actually
it's
in a
not-
place now that they could probably stop bringing in new players and keeping them. I mean, it's slowly getting there. They concentrate a little bit on that, they might actually be able to pull that off. Because I mean, right now, look, they essentially gave us the Tideseeker. They essentially gave us the Hollock Citadel. Those two ships alone, you can get to tier 5 of the FM. Absolutely, positively, 100%.
But Renato, you remember when free players would rule the raids?
They still do.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you were willing to put in the hours, you could be on the top 4. Absolutely, right?
Well, top 1.
And you can still do that nowadays.
I'm giving you
have
Renato.
the time.
I've known Renato. I've been in the same. How long ago were we in the same sector? 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
Well, when the game started in 2010, like alpha test, whatever.
Yeah. Never mind. I'll drop it. No, I'm just saying. I wasn't coining to win all those raids. It was just, and we were just hitting salvages. It was just fun. But yeah, when they expanded that raid from 24 hours to 36 hours, I didn't like that at all.
I don't know about raids. It depends. The last maybe raids before this type, in which you were not needing the skill, just putting there the fleets and maybe outwing. But this last one, you likely was proof on the last raid. If you got the skill and you were patient to do them, you could do them nearly for free. If you didn't want and or didn't know how to play those subs, then you were having to put a lot more money. But also depends on the time you want to spend. But I think that the rates has been like this. When I got the Apollos, my rates were quite cheap. The problem is that you have to sometimes invest a bit on the first rate to get that hull, and after that, that is a walk on the park, no? But before you have to do some invest, and if you have to invest, if 4 months now, I don't see it bad.
I don't know. I mean, I think with the Apollo raids and this last one with the Hell Wraiths, I mean, if you got them when they told you to get them and took the time to get them, I think you were able to do it for the most part.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you need, a full fleet of either to actually do it, as opposed to if you're a free player and you want to put the time in, I think you can actually still pull it off. It's just not near as easy as it used to be to just suck up some time.
Yeah, and raids, both in the single iteration of a raid and the long-term plan of a 4-month raid cycle, like I go into the first raid of a cycle with the mindset that I'm going to lose, that I'm not going to win the hull, and this is just for research. And I go in and I screw around, and sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't do as well as I thought. But even if I didn't get enough points to get everything I wanted, I know what I need to do next raid. I know they're trying to keep the targets the same in between raids, and it didn't happen this time. But it just because you didn't get the new hull or whatever, it's not like it's lost. You can go and refit for the next raid or build a new ship and have it ready for VXP weekend and go back out and go get him next time. And you'll have identified the best ways to hit the targets and what targets to hit initially in terms of sets or tiers. And you'll be a lot more prepared, such that even if you don't get it every first cycle, you can get it on the second raid or get it in the whole raid when you can.
Yeah,
but the fact that
it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah, and the fact that they changed it was mostly because we asked it. We didn't want that splash damage that we were getting, and we asked it for something different. So not always they change it because they want. It's because we ask.
You can't say that because everyone thinks that Kixeye never ever listens to us. Now you can't say that because that means that they
Oh,
actually do
I'm
listen to
sorry.
us.
Well,
That changed my reputation nowadays.
You just
The
made a
big-
troll's
the
head
big
explode,
problem is-
man. How does it make you feel?
The big problem is that Kick listens to us now, but they're listening to the masses, and they're giving us things that are actually at sometimes really bad for the game. If that makes any sense.
Like what?
Well, for example, we asked for, the splash damage to be reduced. We asked for a base hit and hold. We asked for reductions on this. It's just like the new Tide Seeker hull. It comes out, basically you can build 2 of the Tide Seeker hulls with old fleets, if you watch the videos, for free. And I really think that, that, like I said, they're giving us stuff right now that is not thought out. It's not giving them the revenue that they need. It's giving us the fleets that we're asking for.
But
Okay, now say, look, now I want to go down this rabbit hole real quick. I really do. What's the deal with the Tide Seeker? Why do you think the Tide Seeker is not a good addition? Why don't you think it's
I did not say it was not a good addition to the game. However, I do say that I don't think it should have been free.
See,
And if you had the fleets, I just do not think it should have been free.
I have to disagree because that Tide Seeker giving hell, they could have given them built out for free, and they're gonna produce revenue for them in 2 ways. One, during the raid for the people that can't stand subs, and that's essentially what it came out for, and 2, for people that can now probably scuttle up into the higher FM tiers using it, building the FM. The problem is you need at least 2 of them for the raid, and you need 1 for the FM. So even if you got 2 of them, you still have to build 1 more.
if I may add my 2 cents on that, it's I think I was one of the guys in the town hall advocating. Most of us were actually for the Tide Seeker to be kind of given, and we didn't know it was going to be named Tide Seeker. We didn't know it was going to be have a flagship with it, but we knew they were coming up with a surface fleet.
Yes.
As an alternative for people who didn't like subs, because participation in the raid dropped by a lot, right? So it was needed. So, and we said, if you come up with a ship now, it either has to build almost instantly, or you got to give a crap load of tokens so people have enough to at least grind tier C in the raid. And I think they went even above that. If I look at it, I think it actually with 2 ships, you can actually kind of grind tier B.
Yes,
Which is great.
I think you can.
Yeah,
I think
that was
But-
DSM.
Yeah, just to finish, if you look at it, sorry, just to finish the train of thought, the way they're going to make money with that, it's not even by, you're right, Watal's right, it's not like they're giving the ship away, but they're bringing people back who were not playing the raid, who will now play the raid and maybe coin some repairs, and that's the key point of the Tide Seeker. Look at that repair time. It's 4 hours per ship. I mean, people want to use it, for instance, as sub-hunters in normal game. You have a fleet of 3, you get killed, it's 12 hours.
Right,
And
so
I-
it's going,
I-
giving
I
them away
don't-
is actually going to make them money.
I totally agree with Ren until the point that they took it to the next level and, then gave something that pretty much everybody's going to have, and then you're going to need the Phantom. And maybe it's their ploy. It may be, I may be wrong, but I just, I felt like there should have been a little bit more work that the players should have put into it.
Yeah, I think the work, I think the work is more like for you to get the ships very easy, for you to be able to build it like in its ultimate version. Getting to price pack 3 was not that easy. Wasn't hard either, but wasn't easy. I mean, at first people were scared,
Yeah, and remind that you guys are elder end players, so you have all the tech. And for the people that didn't have those Apollos, it was not that easy.
Yeah, it was work for people. If it wasn't us, it was work. And I mean, and I say us very loosely because I do not heavily coin near as much as some people on this panel. but
Well, the Tide Seeker was easy. I mean, I recorded doing it with rhinos, like no approach
Right.
at all.
Yeah, that work
Right.
that work should have
And-
already
and
been
that-
done.
Yeah, that's the thing, that you could do it with a fleet that you're supposedly having, because it was the fleet of the last raid and the fleet that you're trying on the mega hull. So they didn't ask you to have a new fleet. But there is still people that is on the low levels that got to maybe use that trick to get to level 50 and try, and maybe they didn't have the tools to do it. So for us, the ending players, yes, it was easy. But for the people that maybe the ship is going forward for them to get, maybe that wasn't that easy. That's my point.
Well, they're probably going to offer it again down the line in the TLC. And to be perfectly honest, if you couldn't get it with the tech that you had and you're just a new and up and coming level 50, sorry, no. You'll get it next time, maybe sometime in the future. You won't get it now. Go focus on the FM or something else. Like you can't always get everything on your way up, but I think actually the Tide Seeker is a very good way of coming up because you can build it as a tank for the FMs, even the 109s if you've got the right components.
Yeah, I think the Tide Seeker is a very good one of those hulls that they come out with every once in a while. Actually, it's not even that once in a while. The last time they came out with it was like the Mercury. It's a very good hull for people to start getting into the meat of the game. It's a great stepping stone to get into the second tier of the game, I guess, is how I'd like to say it. It's great because you can do the FMs. It'll help considerably in the FMs. It'll help you in this raid set. It'll help after the turn of the year when this raid set turns into uranium targets. It has some longevity, and it's not that hard to get. That's the best part. I think honestly, I think they gave it away on purpose, and I actually like that idea. I like the entire concept because of where it leads. It's not one of those things that they're coming out with, say the Harlock Tide Seeker, where you know what, that's coming out. You're gonna coin to get that a little bit, and I can understand that's going to be a moneymaker to get it.
That's probably going to
Tide
be
Seeker.
50 million points to get and almost like 30 days to build. I bet.
And the regular Tide Seeker, give it away because it's going to produce income and revenue in other aspects. So I completely agree with them, essentially dropping it.
And I think as far as vision goes, sorry, George.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, think about it. They just pretty much, like what Al said, gave away 2 Tide Seekers, or at least 1.5 for people who only did price packs 1 and 2. People now can do it. And then on this raid right after, they release the Defender. That's the first hull in a long time that does not require you to get the special and the weapon. You can just get the hull. And it's going to work, and it's going to be beautiful, right? I mean, and that's my Trump impersonation here. It's going to be beautiful, and the Mexicans will pay for it. So it's because it works with any weapon. I mean, you can put the Cyclone launcher, you can put blades, you can put scoria, you can put whatever, and it works, right? Rockets. You only need 15 million, and you get the brand new Defender, and get your best weapon and mount on it, and you're good.
Yep.
I completely agree with that. I mean, this is a haul that's it has flexibility, and you can use it for a long time, but just based on the build. I mean, unless they come up with another Defender haul that otherwise, I think this is the last. I think it's a must-have haul, personally.
Well,
I know I'm
think
going to
they might-
spend like 3 hours in Huggies the day after this is put up there, just finding the dumbest Swiss Army knife garbage builds I can find with like 2 missiles and the new weapon and 2 cannons, and just you can't prepare for all this. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is too is I'm guessing from looking at how they've been planning stuff out to see another. Probably 1 Defender hull in the next raid set, and that's it. I don't think that they're going to be pushing a lot of Defender hulls. I think they're going to be.
No, we'll see another Conqueror in December, right?
In December. No, I'm saying after December, and another in the next raid set. sometime between January and April.
April. Oh yeah,
We'll see
okay.
one more. So I think each raid set we're going to see one defender, some conquerors, and some other stuff mixed in. I think what
Yeah,
they're
the
trying
one
to do is
PvE for the cycle, probably 3 conquerors or something like
and a
that,
defender.
and 1 defender. Because like I said, the PvE is more predictable and longer shelf life, but the PvP they want to keep cycling fast, and that's why the hole's built in 2-3 days, 1 day, whatever.
Right. And
Right?
I think,
And
that's,
to keep
I think that's
cycling.
my plan. Yeah, I think I was going to say I think that's my plan that they're going to be doing that to keep the balance continuing throughout the game instead of stagnating somewhere.
And one more question. Do you guys expect that on December probably there's going to be the PV hole for the next race season, or we are going
If
to
I
have
had to guess, I think they probably would to see if it works out again.
Yeah,
they're
they'll
still just
probably.
debating on
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say I think they're still watching how it works when they do that, because the Hellwraith was the first time that they did that. This next one is probably gonna be the second time if they decide to do it, and they're gonna watch to see, is it worth bringing it out that early? Is it gonna work? Are people taking advantage of it? Is it hurting us? Is it hurting the game having it out a month early? I mean, there's a lot of balls in the air that they have to decide on after looking at the metrics and what people are doing with the hulls, getting them that early. And I would expect also. Yeah, I was gonna say. I just want to say I would expect if it is January's hull a month early again, expect to pay extra for it again.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. It's
And
going to be double the price.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
double the
I
price.
agree totally, but I will say this: I will guarantee you that there will be a diversity in the targets in the next raid cycle, and it won't be specific to what they tell you to use.
I hope so.
I just like figuring it out, man. Once I figure it out, I'm happy. I mean, my raid was done, Friday morning when I did that. When I figured out where to go to get the perfect run on the 105, I was like, all
your
right, cool,
video
I'm
saved
done.
my life.
I'm glad it helped. And I mean, I was just like, because they kept on, pushing the fact that it's a puzzle. You got to figure it out. And I'm like, man, you got to get those 3 things over there, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. I'm like, what happens if you do this? And I just started screwing around, and hey, that worked. I'm like, awesome. That's great. I hope people do that every raid, and we get people that figure it out and post up videos and let us know.
I wanted to share a final brain fart because I have to leave after that. Did you see? I don't know if you guys watched the videos, the Stu's video and my video. In both cases, there's at least one base hit where the attacker is able to run past the guard, kill the entire base, and then it's only the Valiant left in there, and you kind of like can't kill it, you time out and whatnot. Did you guys see that?
Yes, I
I
did.
did not. But I'm not surprised, because that's the same thing we were doing in the test server against the
Yeah, I did too.
Vanquisher.
My train of thought, and that's my little tinfoil hat here, is it's already being gauged to match an OP9 level base.
Oh,
I totally agree. And that's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching the preview is long, and you know what I mean? Maybe even another defender ship being in the bases.
I think just as the Harlock Revenge kind of bring the Revenges, makes them overpowered for OP8 bases. I think that defender, it's kind of like the first defender made thinking about what an OP9 base is going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the resiliency god, it was crazy.
And I say that without any sort of extra information. It's just my little conspiracy theory here.
yeah. Ren likes the tinfoil on occasion. Shh.
Okay,
Good
everybody.
intuition, man. I agree with you. Good intuition there.
Yep.
Okay, does everybody want us to go offline?
I think it's been an hour and a half. I think we should probably push for after show at this point, so that way we don't bore everybody to death. I like that idea.
The video was interesting this week, but if we make it longer, maybe we are going to kill everybody watching it.
Yeah, I mean, people are still watching. I mean, Laredo's not going to pop on, but he wants to hear what we're going to talk about him later.
Laredo is shy. He never gets in the shows.
I got him. Hey, I got him onto the other one last week, and I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, but
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But the rumors-
I'm
the
just
rumors
making
said
fun.
that you blackmailed him.
Laredo has a flat ass. That's his problem. That's why he doesn't.
He's old too.
He likes
That's what
a
I told him.
sexy ass, so forget it.
Had a big sparkly ass when he couldn't get on.
All right.
Take care,
So-
John. Good night.
All right.
I'm out.
Okay, good night,
Later,
everyone.
All
Renato.
right. Thanks, Ren. Good night, Ren.
Me too. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for having me,
so-
guys.
yes, I think that's gonna wrap it up because I think everybody's got a pop, man.
All right. Well, I guess I'll end it now as far as everybody goes. But just as far as the online viewers and anybody else that wants to pop on, you're welcome to do it. And I will post the link one more time. And some
thanks.
people don't like the fact we've gone to an hour and a half. I don't understand it.
Well,
You know, it's
everybody-
okay.
I will say thank you to everybody for coming out and watching and listening to us, yap about Battle Pirates.
For this long.
Yeah, for this long. So, thank you. Have fun.
Thank you
Take it
for
away, baby.
And
coming, and thank you for the panel to come. It was an interesting chat today here that we got and with ideas thrown.
And we all blame Tito. So at
Yeah.
the end,
Blame the younger one, elders.
yes. So, all right.
Well,
Well,
right.
All right, night, everybody.
all right. Night.